So now it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend, the founder and principal at Beecham Research, one of the best-known IoT analyst firms, Robin Duke-Woolley. Robin, good morning.
Great. Yes, thanks very much, Keith, for the introduction. That's great.
Hey.
We're going to be talking today about asset tracking across borders, and I have with me four panelists. So there's Anna Asman from Once, Chief Strategy Officer at Once. Martin Jefferson, who's Commercial IoT Data Services Manager at Global Star. Carmen Redondo, who is Director of Global Marketing for Antennas at Kyocera. And then Liz Wilson, who is Marketing Director of Ground Control. So that's a fairly diverse lineup for you today. And I'm going to start with a slide to talk about the introduction to this session. And then I'm going to hand over to Anna for a couple of slides from him, and then on to Martin and then the others. Once we've done that, these introductions, then we'll get into the discussion points. As Keith said earlier, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask on asset tracking, then do put them in, and I'll introduce them to the panelists as we go along. So do please send them in. It's very nice to have a sort of interactive session with you in the audience. Okay, so I have just one slide, and it's really to introduce this topic of asset tracking without borders. What I've shown here is two growth rates. So we have an overall growth rate of 13.8%, so nearly 14%. The overall asset tracking market growing from about $18.5 billion to $40.3 billion in the period from 23 to 29. There are a number of different numbers around in the marketplace, but these are the ones that we're using. But it gives an idea of the level of growth. It's certainly a growing market. And underneath that is something particular for cargo and trailer tracking, which is a faster growth and millions of units, so showing the actual growth in numbers of units. So asset tracking is definitely becoming an increasingly crucial part of business across industries. It used to be like a bit subsidiary, but now with all the connection requirements, things moving between companies, different levels of build, as well as final products, and then retail and so forth, there's lots of asset tracking required now. And it covers from cargo traveling across continents to people moving within large work sites, to wildlife roaming their habitats, and many others as well, parcel deliveries and so forth. So asset tracking takes a wide variety of forms, all of which can be supported by IoT. And we did a recent survey where we asked, was asset tracking used locally, regionally, or globally? And it turned out that over 60% of asset tracking is cross-border. So that is what this particular session is going to be focusing on, asset tracking across border. And we're going to be looking at the new satellite connectivity, the NTN opportunity that's coming up now. So I'd now like to hand over to Carmen Redondo at Kyocera. A couple of words from you, Carmen.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you for having me in this panel. I'm also very excited to share with the other colleagues. So Kyocera EVX is the division of Kyocera Corporation, and we are the division of advanced electronic components. We cover many different types of components, from small capacitors, connectors, crystals, or RF components. And I'm in charge of the antennas, so my specialty is the antennas, and this is the topic we will cover today. We cover different types of applications or industries with our products, from automotive, consumer electronics like laptops or cell phones, medical, and then under the IoT, there are many different types of applications, as you well know, like from lighting, smart lighting, metering, smart homes, and of course, trackers, which is the topic that we are going to cover. Just before we pass to this topic, I wanted to mention that for antennas, we have global coverage with our R&D facilities and factories. Our factories are mostly in Asia, Korea, Vietnam, and China. And then we have design centers where we support our customers to validate their wireless devices. And we have in San Diego, France, in Nice, where I'm based, China, Korea, and China, Korea, and Taiwan. Sorry. So if we look at the topic of the trackers, one of the challenges we see from the antenna side is that every time the devices are smaller, and we see a lot of connectivity there. We have seen now, we were talking a bit introduction about cellular. We have introduction to NTN, but also you have the traditional GPS, other connectivity like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi to connect the devices or to transmit the data. And also you have the indoor location using, for example, ultra wideband. So in each kind of technology, it has different considerations. Today, the discussions will focus more on the cellular and NTNs. It's the topics on the table. But we have different type of standard solutions, and also customizations, because sometimes they are so small and so many different type of connectivity you need to add inside that you really need to have something customized. So this is the kind of things we will be discussing. Thank you.
That's great, Carmen. Thanks very much. And Carmen, I think that from an antenna perspective, I kind of get the impression that tracking is hugely important for your business, and
Yes.
a very large percentage of the products that you work with are asset trackers in one way, shape, or form. Is that right?
That's right, and especially because of the complexity to add so many technologies in normally small devices. So we see a lot of different type of applications from our customers. I mean, we're talking about the logistics, but also offenders trackers, of tracking of people, tracking of pets. And, when you need to make a tracker, like we have done trackers for cats, I can tell you they're very tiny and it's very complex to connect to the LTM or to add cellular satellite. And it's a lot of complexity. And that's why customers rely on our expertise to help them to make sure that they connect. Because if you have a tracker and when you need it, you can see where your pet is, this can be quite a challenge now for the user.
Yeah. And I think it's fair to say that if you don't have an antenna, you don't have wireless. So
yeah, everything.
Okay, that's great. So, and Carmen, if we've got satellite on the one hand and cellular on the other, and people are moving from one to the other, I mean, that's quite a lot of antenna implications there, aren't there?
Yeah, so I mean, when we talk about cellular, everybody thinks, even for the GPS, thinks about the patch antennas or circular polarized antennas, and we're talking about other type of traditional satellites. You imagine these kind of large antennas, helix, and now when this coming into the IoT, you need to have everything very small devices. So many times the antenna is bigger than the device. So one of the things that is starting with the NTN is that most of the providers, they are trying to extend the cellular bands to cover also the NTN bands, the L and S bands prominently, which is a good starting point, but of course it's a lot of testing ongoing is to see if it's sufficient. Like in the GPS, many times you can use a linear polarized antenna or chip antennas instead of patches, especially when you are not facing the sky, because you don't need the circular polarization in that way. Like your cell phone, right? Your cell phone doesn't have circular polarized antennas, and everybody's using it in the car for GPS. Now, when you come in the IoT and in the NTN, as we were discussing, there are different type of solutions, different type of satellites, and as a LEO, GEO, different type of requirements. So I think it's a good starting point, but there is a lot of investigation we are doing about how we can combine, also have circular polarized antennas that can fit inside the IoT devices and even handle different type of polarizations, because some satellites have one right hand, left hand. So there is a lot of, we have a big roadmap in our site, and we are partnering with different providers and to find the solutions for the for the coming challenges.
That's great. That's great. Okay. So Carmen, I'd like to move on a bit, and I'd like to ask you, what are the considerations to take into account when selecting the right antennas for a tracker? Be it satellite or cellular or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, or what are the issues that spring out for you?
Yeah, each technology have their issues. It's true that sometimes we have reference designs with major module makers, so that's very helpful. And of course we have many different type of projects that we have done for trackers, so the typical tracker for industrial or for containers and things like that, it could be kind of like a rectangular shape, and that can vary a lot, but we kind of have like the, let's say, like favorite antennas that they are optimized, even to the very small devices. We can also use some band switching when they are too small and we need to cover many bands. So this is like the kind of starting point. Later you will need to see, based on your shape and size, then you need to see if you want to, if your device is the user case, right? If it's facing the sky, everybody thinks satellite or GPS needs to be a patch antenna. If your tracker is not facing the sky, if you want to really help. So this is the kind of first consideration, what the technologies you have and bands or countries you want to cover, the size, and then what is the user case. And then based on that, you can really start giving the recommendations. So we have some cases where normally kind of work. I mean, you always have to work around because, for antennas, everything, the whole device is radiating. People think, oh, this antenna is perfect, and they expect to see everything like in the data sheet. But each device, we have different performance, different matching components, different layouts around the antenna. So that's why it's good a starting point, but you really need the help to really validate inside the device. And later you go to the case where you have these really small trackers where you cannot really use standard products, and like if you want to have like ankle trackers for offenders, tracking offenders, and of course even close to the body you will have a lot of absorption of power from the body, so you really need to do customize there. You have, as I mentioned before, cats, and I think the smaller trackers we did is for pigeons, so you can imagine how little thing you need to put there.
Good grief.
In those cases we really need to bring up your creativity, a lot of testing, and so yeah, I think we really covered a really broad range.
That's wow. Okay. All right.